Okay, 1.6. Let's dive into reflections a bit. So you have a line of reflection, right? And we're going to reflect some of these here in this first example. Not a coordinate plane so much, just some dots. But to help us here, what do you know about the distance of a point on either side of the reflection line? The same, right? So it's usually pretty easy to do a reflection, right? Because however far it is on one side, you go the same distance on the other side and put its corresponding point, right? So for example here, if we want to reflect this quadrilateral, okay, make sure I got my things up here right, okay, let's just start with point O. It's one away, so I go one to the other side. U is 2, so 2 over here. It's not hard, right? Then one over here for N, and then M. And then let's just connect our dots. And then label it. So we're going to have O prime, and this is N prime, U prime, and M prime. Not too bad, is it? It's okay. These don't have to be perfect, just as long as you get the idea. All right? Let's take a look at the next one. Oh, man, it crosses right over the line. What the heck do we do with it? We just do the same thing. Exact same thing. Let's take point P. 2 away, so 2 on this side. Okay, 1. So 1 on the other side. But now Q is going to end up here, right? That's all. So 1, 2, 1, 2. And let's connect our dots. So this is really a lot like kindergarten, isn't it? Prime, P, prime, and there's J prime. Now the next one's a little bit trickier, right? Because it's kind of a diagonal thing. So we have to count just a little bit differently. So what I like to count, especially with diagonal, you know what rise and run are? Okay, I like to just count the rises and run from the line and do the same number of rises and runs on the other side if it's diagonal. Okay? So S, well, I go a run, right? So then I'm going to just go down here. We could have just done it that way too, but right? Well, what about R? Well, R is, oh wait, this isn't the one I was thinking, is it? I might have been thinking of another one where it was more, this was set up so that it wasn't quite a straight path. So let's go 1, 2, and then 1, 2. All right, there must be another one, and then T over here. Well, at least now I gave you that heads up that'll give you some sense of how to do it. So then we label T prime, R prime, and S prime. Okay, not hard. That doesn't blow anybody's brain hole, does it? All right, let's go to the coordinate plane now. So now we're going to just reflect some points over some particular line. You remember our notation? So they give us a bunch of points in here, right? They're not going to form a shape or anything. We're just going to basically do one point at a time that they tell us. So in this one, we're going to start with point A, which they tell us is over here at -2, 5, right? The lowercase r means what? Reflect. The subscript is the what? The line of reflection, which in this case is the x-axis, right? Okay. A. So here's our x-axis, right? So A is 5 away from it on this side, so we're going to go 5 to the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So here is A prime. So now what are the coordinates of A prime? -2, -5. Do you notice that when reflected in the x-axis, what changed? You just took the y value and made it what? Right? If we reflected in the y-axis, what would change? Yeah, you just flip the sign of the x value, right? Okay. Let's try point B. It's over here at 5, 7. Okay? And what's the line they want us to reflect in? The y-axis. Okay? So that's our line. So it is 1, 2, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is B prime. What are the coordinates of B prime? -5, 7. See, we reflected in the y-axis, we just had to change the x value. Okay? Why don't you guys take a minute and just do the rest of these real quick, okay? Make careful note of the line of reflection. You see that one's M? You see line M here? You get the idea? And here's line N, so it's different than the axes, okay? So take a minute and run down that. And I'll pause this. So somebody tell me what they got for letter C. What are the coordinates of C prime? Everybody get 9, -4? Like if somebody didn't get that, raise their hand. We can cover it, right? What about D? What are the coordinates of the image? Good, 4, -4. All right? Again, stop us if you didn't get that, right? You want to get this straightened out. Anybody get E yet? -2, 1, you said? Yep. And reflecting point B. Everybody good with 7, 7? And the last one there, C, in a different axis. Maybe not there yet.
-3, -4.
-3, -4. Okay. There we go. -3, Does anybody have any questions on it? You got something wrong. A lot of times maybe you're not noticing the correct line of reflection. A lot of times kids will see the x-axis and they'll reflect in the y or something like that, right? And you got to be real careful what they want you to reflect in. All right, let's take a look at this other diagram down here. It's slightly different. So we have this square here. We got a bunch of points on it. We got a bunch of lines, dotted lines going through it. I suppose they intend those to be lines of reflection. Do you notice that the lines are labeled with these lowercase letters, right? And all the points are uppercase letters, right? To make a distinction there. Everybody notice that? Okay. So here, they want us to take point A and reflect it in what line? M. So let's go find point A. Here it is. You see line M? When we reflect point A in line M, what point does it map to? It becomes C. You get the idea? Let's try one more here. Let's go to over here. We're going to reflect C in what line? So here is C. Here is the line N. Where is it going to map to? To G. You get the idea? All right, you guys fill in the rest. Be careful with, say, like D and H. Okay? So finish those out. And I'm going to go ahead and fill these in. You can check yourself with it. Which one? In F? How do I get B? Let's look at it. Let's see. So we're reflecting B. In what line? It's on the line of reflection. To close it to us up. Anybody else? Questions on that? Okay with it? Remember, now's the time to clear it up, right? Because on test day, I don't answer questions at all, unless it's like a typo or clarify or something like that. But all right. Okay. So it's kind of short. We got one little reading question over here. Read it carefully. Couple pages in. All right. Read that over carefully. And when you do the graphing part, label it correctly. Okay. You label it, always these reading questions, exactly the way they want you to label it. How do we do with at least the reflection line? See how that line cuts through which axis? X. And where does it cut through it at? 1. And then just do your reflection, right? Same distance on each side. So there. Just like this. and then label correctly. If you don't label these correctly on the regents, they crush your spirit. They will end your career. Okay, how many got that right? All right, if you didn't get it quite right, this is early on. I mean, this stuff will start to seep in. Don't worry about it. Okay. Okay. So on the problem set, here's what we're going to do. So for the problem set, for number 1, you're going to do the bottom of them. I guess. So what I mean is the bottom 1, 2, 3, bottom 6. Does that make sense? Okay. You see the 6 at the very bottom? Yeah. Right. And then you just.
Can we just make a line?
Yeah. If you want to draw a line just to demark it, right? And then you're going to do number 2, 3, and 5. So the bottom 6 of number 1, and then numbers 2, 3, and 5. Okay?